Hello, so today I want to talk a little bit about dry felting. I'm going to show you a couple projects that I've done, as well as the difference between one of my dry felting and one of my wet felting projects. This here was done wet felting. This is a dry felting project. And as you can see, it's a little bit fuzzier. You can also dry felt things like this. I also did this little pumpkin, it's just purple, not orange. And I also dry felted this here. So I dry felted each of the petals and the leaves separately, and then I felted them together. Dry felting is the process of using special needles like these to get wool roving to felt together or to stick together. Most people look at this and they're like, oh, the point is the important part. It's really not. It's really hard to see, but if you look closely, you can see there's like kind of a rough barb kind of texture to the sides of your needle for felting, and that is the important part. You can't just use a regular sewing needle, and that will wear out while you're felting, so you just need to replace these and toss them as needed. There's different size needles, and there's also things like this that have multiple needles at once. This is really good for a really big project where you're felting something that's really wide, but something with a smaller needle allows you to work into like finer areas. You're also going to need some sort of foam pad. This is a wool one. I also often use foam that you get out of like packing materials for items. This works pretty well. You just need multiple layers. And last but most importantly is you do need the wool roving, which is just sheep wool that has been washed and combed out. I use like old containers for the needles. And I'll show you how to get started. You can felt wool into itself. You just use a pad underneath and then you peel it up when you're done. You can also foam onto something like a foam block. I don't know if this will work very well. I'm going to give it a try. This was just a cheap Dollar Tree thing that I found. But sometimes it felts well into stuff like this. I found like the Easter eggs that are foam work well for making Easter egg designs. You can also felt into felt, so felt fabric. So you can use this as a base to felt on if you're felting some sort of design or artwork. I'm going to show you what felting looks like. So let's say I want to make a catnip toy. So or a ball of anything. So you're going to lay a layer flat. And then what I do is I have some dried catnip here. So I can take my dried catnip and I can put it right on top here. So I've got my catnip in there. So I'm going to put this down here and I'm going to just wrap this around so that the catnip doesn't come out. It's a little bit like of a weird, tricky thing to do. It doesn't need to look pretty at this point. You're just pretty much squishing it all together. So the best thing to do for this, because it's such a small ball, is just to use the one needle. And I'm just going to go ahead and stab this into it. Now, as I'm stabbing in, I'm making sure I don't hit my fingers. And I'm just going to move it around a little and felt from different angles. And that helps just keep it a ball. Otherwise, if you just felt from one direction, you tend to get flatness. Now at this point, it's starting to look more like a ball, but I want this to be a little larger. So I can either wrap it with more of the same color, I could add another color. It's up to my personal whims. It's really just a lot of stabbing. It's good for listening to an audiobook at the same time. Now you can wear these little finger guards. That protects you from hurting yourself. So as you can see, it's starting to take shape better. It's starting to look more like a ball. And I'm just going to keep going around. To make it look like a heart, I might use a metal heart cookie cutter and use that to help shape it while I'm stabbing it, making sure not to hit the cookie cutter. But let's say I wanted to make it look like a little person or a little smiley face. I can just take a little bit of wool. Now for some things I will felt the items separately. So I could felt a little dot and make a little round thing here. Or I can just put it right up to here. I'm going to try to go in all at the same spot. So obviously this is very fuzzy right now. Usually I'd scrunch this up a little bit more before I did this. You can combine wet felting and dry felting to a degree too. If I wanted to add something to this, I don't want to wet felt the whole thing because it would make the catnip not smell as much, which isn't my goal. But I could wet felt just the little ball that attaches to it, wouldn't be a big deal, separately, and then dry felt it on. So there we go. I got a little dot there in the middle. I could add more if I want, but you can also add on, make some leaves or whatever you want and just add them on. It's very easy to do. A lot of this is just limited by your creativity and how much time you want to put into this. So here's the foam thing. We'll see if this felts to it. Ooh, got on a pad under that for sure. Let's see. Yeah, it's felting to it. So this would work to felt into. You can see it's starting to stick to it. Certain pads I find work better. And then I will also show you on felt. So I could cut out a little felt shape, maybe in the shape of a star or whatever, and just felt along that. This is probably a little better than the foam, that particular foam anyways. So I can take this and put it on top of the pad, of course. And there we go. We're just felting directly into it. So I got to peel it away. You'll see it has felted to this as well. But that's pretty typical. So just sometimes you have to move it around just so it won't completely stick in. So there it is. It's attached. It probably needs a little more work, but I'm not tackling that all today. And then we have our little felted ball. So yeah, that's all there is to it. It's pretty easy to do. It's a fun little craft. Anyways, hope that was helpful. Thanks so much for watching. Take care and have a great day. Make sure to follow me on my blog, DIYDanielle.com, and also on my YouTube channel, Instagram, whatever you prefer.